Okay, I'm putting up my first YouTube video. I wanted to start my first video on this channel being a Q&A so that you guys could get to know me a little bit better before I start putting out any other videos. Next up is definitely going to be our house tour questions, where you guys have asked on Jack's house tour of our place heaps of questions about building here in Bali. So we're super excited to make that video, but we wanted to first introduce this channel by getting to know me a little bit better. So late last year I asked on Instagram if you guys had any questions about me that you wanted to get to know me a bit more, and so I'm going to run through and answer some of the most popular ones right now. I'm going to start with this one. How did you and Jack meet? So Jack and I met in Fiji in 2016. We just celebrated our 4 years of being together. We went to Fiji to work with the tourism, and we spent over a week together there and got along so well. We had so much in common. This was 4 years ago, so before we were really like making a proper career out of it, before anyone really knew that it was like going to be as big as social media is now. Yeah, so we went to Fiji together, and then when we were there, he invited me to come out to Bali and hang out some more. So I came to Bali and we hung out for 10 days here straight after, pretty much. And then from there, we just started making plans to go to the Maldives. I was going to Europe for the summer with my friends, and he was like, yeah, like I'd love to come along too. So it was kind of this thing where we had so much in common, got along so well. So we just kept making plans for like the future, and we just knew from pretty early onwards that it was something pretty special. And that was 4 years ago. So this is also a really popular one. How did you come to have this life of traveling? How did it start? So for me, my journey was that every time between work, like I would save up money. I worked casual, but worked so hard to save up any money I could. And the only thing that I really wanted to do and spend my money on was travel. So I was always making plans to travel whenever I could. And when I started going on some of these trips, I started getting into photography. It was when I did this trip and I went to America with my best friend. And we did America and Canada, and I borrowed my mum's camera off her. I was so obsessed with taking pictures, learning how to edit. I was just using apps back then. And then at the time, that's when Instagram was kind of like becoming a bit of a thing. My sister was doing her food thing, and I just started sharing travel pictures. And all I really hoped to gain from it was to get reposted by some of these big repost pages. And I never knew at all that it was a business or anything like that. And then over time I started to accumulate some followers, and then eventually got invited by a local tourism board to come on this trip for free. Like I wasn't getting paid or anything. And when I was on that trip, I think I had around 10,000 followers. And some of the people that were on that trip were getting paid to be there, and they were telling me about it. And I was like, wow, like I had no idea anyone made any money. At the time, my sister had more followers than me, and hers was like all about like food and fitness. And she wasn't even making any money. And I was like telling her like, wow, like you can make money from this. These people are getting paid. So that was kind of where it really like kicked off for me. And then obviously I was still working. I was a dental assistant at the time. And I was just working away, and then yeah, I got so busy, and I started, getting more trips. I got some ones to go to Europe and Vietnam with like some travel brands in Australia, and that's when I realized that like, hey, this could really be something. So at the end of 2015, I quit my job, and then obviously in March 2016 is when I met Jack. So I'd been not working, doing it full time for a couple of months, and it was a little bit scary, but I just loved it, and I knew that I didn't care if I made a lot of money. All I cared about was, getting these opportunities to be able to travel and just having fun, because it was something that I was super passionate about and just really enjoyed. Why did you choose Indonesia for your house or living? So for us to choose Indonesia, it was actually kind of a spur of the moment decision. We were traveling so much non-stop, like all through Europe, Morocco and everywhere. And this is when we were starting to get some travel jobs, and people wanted to book our flights and send parcels to me. And I was like, I don't know where like we'll be in a week's time, let alone 1 month's time, 2 months time. And it was around that time where I just had so much clothing, and I was like, this is just getting too much. And if someone wanted to take us on a trip that was like winter, I'd be like, I only have summer clothes. So we both decided we should probably get a base somewhere that we can like keep all our stuff. It'll be like a little home. We can come and go from there. Clients can book our flights. Why don't we do Bali? We both knew that we loved the place. We'd spend a bit of time there together when we first met. We knew that we could get a relatively cheap rental there, and that it was also kind of somewhere central in the world. So we came to Bali, and we looked at one villa, and straight away that day we're like, yep, sign up, let's have it for the year. So we paid for the lease, and then we didn't expect to spend as much time as we did in Bali. Like we thought, oh, we'll just pop in and out once a month. And then over the course of the last 3 years, we ended up spending more and more time here, and then we ended up building a house and calling this place home. Do you feel pressure to stay slim for Instagram? Yes, I definitely do. I mean, you have so many people watching your every move. You want to look and feel good. You want to feel your best. It can be quite dangerous. You're being compared to a lot of people on the internet, but you just can't let it consume you. Just do what feels best for you. Personally, yes, I do feel pressure to look a certain way for Instagram, but it's not everything to me. It's not something that I think about every single day about how I need to look for my followers. It's just something that I want to look and feel great. Like anyone that's got a job that's in front of eyes, even if you work on TV or anything, I'm sure you have the same feelings where you want to stay looking good because, you know, people are pretty mean on the internet and watching you, so you don't really want to put yourself in a position that's going to make you feel bad. Okay, so this is a pretty raw one, had quite a few likes. Since you approved personal questions, do you have breast implants, and if so, what size implant? Yes, I do have breast implants. I had them done, I think 2 years ago in Australia. It was something that I always wanted to do. I didn't really have any boobs at all, and then I obviously have a bit of a bum, so I felt like I was a little bit out of proportion, and it's just something that I always liked the idea of. When I could financially afford it and it was something I felt comfortable with doing, I made the decision. My whole aim for the procedure was for it to look as unnoticeable as possible and as natural. So I basically said, what is the smallest, most realistic implant you can give me to fit my body? So I think he's done an amazing job on giving me a boob job that is kind of like questionable, like did she have it or not? But yes, I did. From the outside, it looks like it all just happened for you. Was it really like that? No, it wasn't just like that. Like, there was a lot of time and effort put into this, unpaid, with no intentions of making money and it becoming a career and becoming what it was. And when I met Jack, we didn't have near as many followers as we did, and it didn't just happen overnight. Things definitely did excel for us when we got together and we were traveling non-stop. I guess back then it was kind of easier to gain a following, especially if you did it early onwards, because there was less competition, there was less people trying to do it. And just traveling and taking pictures in general like we do was super unique back then, whereas now it's not so unique. You kind of have to think outside the box. Like if you're wanting to grow a following now, I think you really have to stick to a niche, be really dedicated to it, do it for the right reasons. You need to love it because it's not just going to happen overnight, and it didn't just happen for us overnight. Before calling it a job, I think I was doing it for like a year or two without making money, and it was just a hobby, like it wasn't a job. Can you explain a bit more what you and Jack do for a living? So I guess the easiest way to explain it is we are classed as influencers. I don't like using that word, but that's basically what it is. We were known as travel influencers, so we would get employed by certain brands to travel to destinations and promote them, and then along with that, we were working with a lot of brands from all over, whether it was like technology, so cameras, drones, cosmetics, food products, airlines, tourism boards, clothing. I would say it's more lifestyle influencing, so we're promoting, you know, a whole lifestyle. We've never really worked with anyone that we didn't feel comfortable with or we didn't believe in, and I think that's how we have built a good relationship with our following, is because we weren't just selling out and promoting every single offer that came our way. I think you have to have a standard and you have to really care about what you're promoting to your audience. So that's something that we've always been really proud of. And then obviously we have our presets. So we have our business do travel presets. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know about that. That's been super successful for us, and we're super proud of the business that we built with that. So that's obviously a huge income for us, and something that we have put a lot of our time and dedication into. We have so many happy customers, so we know that we've created a really good product, and that's why we've been so successful with it. How old are you? I am 26 and I'm about to turn 27 this week, actually in 2 days' time. How did you become so famous? So for us, we really kind of excelled on Instagram when we got together. We were traveling, we were taking a couple pictures. Back then that was super unique. This was 4 years ago. And we had quite a few media articles go out about us. We had this one instance where this girl was kind of copying all of my pictures, outfits, everything. You can look it up online. It was over every article. That grew us by hundreds of thousands of followers overnight. And we had a few other little things like that where, you know, mainstream media wrote about us. But also back then at the time, what we were doing was so unique that it was much easier to grow. People were following a lot more. So that was kind of where we really started, and I guess being some of the first ones to do it, you're going to stand out. What do your parents do? Well, my mum, she's a registered nurse and she's still working at a hospital in Australia. And then my dad, he is retired now, but he was a telecommunication technician. Both my parents have worked really hard, so I think that's where I got my work ethic from. I never was given everything to me. I didn't come from no trust fund. Same goes for Jack. Neither of us came from any money or were given everything to us. We've worked really hard to gain where we are all on our own. Will you move back to Australia one day? I hope so. I mean, it's something that for the last few years I was like, no, I'll never live in Australia again. Like, I love where I am. And I think in the last 6 months, something's just changed in me. Maybe my sister being pregnant, where I've been like, oh, I'd actually love to spend a bit more time there. I wouldn't want to spend my entire year there, but it's something that I feel like I would like to base there again, potentially in the near future. What is the best part of being an influencer and what is the worst part? The best part for me is that probably I met Jack in this industry and doing what we love, and then probably also all of our friends that we've met, and then getting to work for ourselves is a really great opportunity. And then for the worst, I guess probably dealing with everybody's opinion about you or opinion about what you say and do. Obviously that's what comes with it, and it's something that we've really learned how to deal with over the years. In the beginning I used to really bite back at any negativity and would start fights or get really upset about it, and then over time I've learned to just let go and not take it too personally, don't hang on to it, and just realize that you're never going to make every single person happy with what you do. You just got to do what feels right for you and not dictate your entire life over trying to please everybody, because you will never succeed in that. Are you planning on having kids or getting married? So I get asked this question a lot more recently. I think probably because my twin sister is married and has a kid on the way. But everyone's ready at their own time. Me and Jack have only been together for 4 years versus they've been together for 10 years. So yeah, I think when the time's right, we will definitely be doing both of those things. Do you have a post-Instagram plan, or is this the life you envision forever? I don't really have a post-Instagram plan in particular. I mean, I feel pretty confident that we will be okay, and that whatever happens, we will just go with the transitions, and we will make the most of any opportunity that comes our way. Obviously, we know we're not going to be doing exactly what we're doing now forever. We just hope and plan to have enough things sort of set in place to give us a comfortable life and keep us busy and keep us happy. I think that's most important, is staying happy. So that's the plan. Can you speak Indonesian? Sedikit, which means little. So I know a very basic Indonesian, I can say good morning, hello, order my coffee, how are you? Very, very basic understandings. I definitely want to fully learn. I think that it's an amazing skill, and obviously living here is something that I should do. Most people around Chengdu speak English, so it's not really been too much of an issue with the language barrier, but definitely I think as a sign of respect, it would be really nice to take away this skill of learning another language. Where do both yours and Jack's family live? My family lives in Australia, Queensland and New South Wales, and then Jack's parents live in Manchester, or just outside of Manchester in England. So there's a few questions that are gym related and about exercise, so what type of exercise I do and how often I exercise. So I exercise maybe 5 to 6 times a week usually, sometimes even more. That's because when we're here in Bali, you're not really walking, you kind of ride your scooter absolutely everywhere. But in terms of what kind of exercise I do HIIT and weight training and some cardio. I like to do a little bit of everything. I've recently got into weight training quite a bit in the last year, and I'm really loving it and seeing quite a transition in my body. I would love to hear about the process of taking photos with both of you guys when you're out traveling. How do you set up, etc. for the couple shots? So this is something that we've been doing forever. We've basically set up a tripod with the camera on an interval timer. We'll have it on a fixed focus, and then we both just run and jump in the photo, and it just keeps on taking continuous shots until we're happy with what we got. Did you go to uni? What did you study? No, I never went to university. When I finished school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I used to always feel a bit of pressure about that, why don't I know what I want to do? I can't figure it out. All I know is I want to travel. And I never ever thought that traveling would become a job to me, but I just knew that that's the only thing that I was really inspired about. So I just got a job after school that paid pretty well. I was a dental assistant, and then I would just save up all my money and go travel any opportunity that I could. So there's a couple of questions here asking about my height, my weight, my measurements. So I can tell you that I'm 164 centimeters, and weight, I don't even know. I used to weigh myself a lot, and in the last year or so I've stopped jumping on the scales. Especially now that I do weight training, I'm probably the heaviest that I've ever been, and that's due to the fact that muscle weighs more than fat. And I just think that it's not really a healthy thing to be jumping on the scales and checking how much you weigh. I avoid it because it doesn't make me feel good. If I see a number on the scale that I'm not happy with, it's going to trigger me to not feel good, not feel great about myself. So I just think that it's more about how you feel rather than what the scales tell you should feel. Do you ever pay for one of your trips, or do you only post pictures for paid trips? I would say that we pay for quite a few of our trips. Sometimes more often than not. Do I only post if I'm getting paid? I would say 80 to 90% of my content is unsponsored and unpaid. It's just content that I want to create. Are you still vegan or not? Because I thought you were. No, I'm not currently vegan anymore. It's been about 2 years since I was vegan. I'm pescatarian, so I eat fish and eggs. The reason why I transitioned from being vegan to pescatarian was because I had a hormonal condition called PCOS. And basically my naturopath just recommended me to eat fish and eggs as part of my plan to get rid of the symptoms. And along with a few other things that I did, I got rid of a lot of my symptoms, so I just stick to what's working for me. Do you feel like Instagram is ruining traveling? People who have been going to certain locations for decades can't even enjoy them anymore because of all these influencers. It's sad, to be honest. Yes, I do to agree. Not necessarily Instagram itself, but I just think with technology and society these days, everyone is so fixated on getting a picture. And I've also found times where I'm at a location and I feel a bit sad, like am I really enjoying being here, or am I only here to get a photo, and it can feel a little bit fake and just like not what traveling was originally about. So I can definitely understand for people who aren't in the industry and get to a destination that they've been going to for years and they just see everyone with their cameras out not really enjoying themselves, that it can be really disappointing and really hard to enjoy it. And I definitely think you have to think about that. And it's a bit hard because that's what we're promoting. Like, we are promoting like going to these destinations, getting amazing pictures. So it's one of those ones where it's like, this is our livelihood, but I'm also like, oh, it doesn't feel so good, and sometimes I don't feel like I'm really presently enjoying a location and getting to really experience it. So that concludes my Q&A. I hope you guys got heaps of your questions answered that you were wanting to know. Obviously, if you have any house ones, they're going to be on the next one, and I ignored all them. Poor Oreo. He's just been sitting here the whole time. Oh, somebody's sleepy. Hopefully I can bring some kind of information or value to you guys through this channel. Maybe do some editing tutorials, you know, everyday life, like some recipes, workouts, anything like that. So if you have any suggestions on things you'd like to see, make sure you comment them so I can start planning for all of those videos. And I'll see you on the next one.